Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the podcast. My name is...
Sounds so perverse right there.
I think that's the point. Do you want me to start again? I'll start again, shall I?
Welcome to the podcast, pretty kitty. You might as well have said that.
Hello there, children. Are you sitting comfortably? And we start again.
Would you like some sugar?
Would you like some sugar?
That's staying in. That's staying in, I'm sorry. Oh, Wayne. Well, welcome to the podcast, guys.
My headset is breaking, that's how creepy that was.
We are the Beefy Sandwich crew. With me, as always, is Wayne.
Yo, what's up?
And Tom.
I am definitely here.
He's definitely here. And today we have a small announcement. We have a new member of the crew.
Hello.
His name is Mass.
My name is Mass.
His gamer tag is in fact Mass.
Yes.
Yeah. So look him up.
I'm very plain and simple. I keep it plain and simple. Mass. Just nothing else to it.
No sauce on the pasta here.
No sauce.
Oh, pasta jokes because he's Italian.
Oh God.
And it begins already. Mm-hmm. Basically, if you've seen the video that we've had on YouTube of me and Wayne and Trip is Mass. That was his first foray into the Beefy Sandwich crew.
Yes. And
he shall be joining us. There are a few more videos with him in the pipelines already that are being edited. And yes, so expect to hear more from him.
Cool. I'm nodding my head.
He's nodding his head. Is there anything else you'd like to
add? No, thanks for having me. And yeah. It's gonna be fun.
Don't say thanks until the end of the podcast.
Oh, okay. I'll wait till the end.
That's like the first podcast we did. Tom was just like, "Oh, thank you and good night."
Yeah,
I remember.
Yeah. So yeah. So anybody got anything interesting to say this week? I mean, we've obviously got our something big happened this week.
I think we should crack straight on with our main topic.
All right, and we're gonna. I mean, obviously this week they announced that Steam was going onto home consoles. Valve makes a console.
Oh my God.
Oh God.
They announced the Steam OS, followed by the Steam console, followed by the controller itself, which was an interesting topic that we'll probably go onto at some point. But yeah, it's coming everywhere. But, yep. But I suppose we'll take it in sessions. I mean, the Steam OS was originally sort of the bigger picture thing, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
I tried using bigger picture earlier while talking to Mass, and it was okay, but it was really hard to join games.
Yeah, it's like an underdeveloped new age Xbox dashboard.
Yeah, sort of. It's good. I like its layout and stuff. I just hope it kind of they because obviously they've announced it as a separate OS now, so hopefully they'll fine tune it quite heavily.
I'm hoping so.
What?
Yeah, that's a good question.
What's the question?
The question was, is it going to catch on?
It might catch on fire if they leave on too long.
Yeah, it could do. The beta testing for it when they send out the free ones.
Yeah. I mean, Valve has quite a big following. A lot of people thought that Valve wasn't going to do, when they released Steam, it was going to fail miserably. But I mean, look what happened there. So, it's going to be interesting to see, I think.
If anyone can do this, it's Valve. I have faith.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. They're definitely the company to get it done if they are going to do it. But just like, there's very little that we know about it still. And I don't know. We just got to see what they come up with in the pipeline.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because I mean they're going to start sending out beta consoles before the end of the year, so
yeah.
There'll be videos appearing on YouTube and things like that with them. I mean, I'd be interested to see because I want to know if the console is just like a smaller PC, a console version of a PC, whether it's going to be like a bespoke system or what. I don't even know.
Well, I think in regards to the OS, it's basically going to run Steam and possibly a couple of video streaming services like Netflix and stuff like that, because for some reason that seems to be really popular rather than buy DVDs and play them on your console, just rent them.
Yeah.
So, like Xbox and I think PS3 already have that.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be like vastly complex in terms of you can run a full OS, but considering it's running modified version of Linux or something, I assume people will probably be able to make it do normal things eventually.
Yeah, they've said that they're going to make it openly moddable, that they want people to see what they can do with it. I think they're going to look for people to make different apps for it, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I can see something like the Steam Workshop, like community-generated applications and things.
Yeah, exactly.
I can see that taking over, because Steam have lately got quite a big focus on community-made things with, like, you know, you can sell your Dota 2 items and get a percentage of the profit, or in Scribblenauts you can make loads of creations, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if it's going to work, that's how it's going to work. They're going to rely on the indie market more than anything else. But, I mean, it's Linux, and right now, how many Linux games are there on Steam, at least compatible? I was
exactly.
reading up, you know?
You can check that one.
But that's it though. Like, there isn't many.
No,
there are a few, but there isn't many. But the whole point of this, in the way I see it, is I know developers, game developers in general, are getting a bit unhappy with the direction that Windows are taking. Sorry, Microsoft are taking Windows into this sort of tablet form. More or less, like, that's how it's going. Like, Windows 8 is more or less made for tablets.
Yeah.
They've released laptops that can be used as tablets. And that's great and all, but it's not good when it comes to gaming. It's making it it's making it harder to make games for them. So Steam or Valve see this sort of opening in the market where they can just sort of steal all game development into their own OS, because it would be so much easier if they just made games on this OS.
Yeah. Just for a quick reference, there are currently 307 games compatible with Linux on Steam.
Nice.
Yeah, and there's like thousands of games available on Steam in general.
Yeah.
That's just under 3 times my library.
Just under 3 times your library. Yeah, it's about 2.5 times, I think, on mine. But like, I suppose they're gonna ask a lot of people to try and make it compatible, because, I mean, I think I discussed it with one of you guys earlier. The Steam, they've got enough money that they can go to like Steam Greenlight people and things like that and be like, look, if we gave you this amount of money, do you reckon you could make it compatible with Linux? You know?
Yeah. They won't even have to. I think the market, they will tweak, the developers will tweak their products to fit the OS, because that's where the market's going to be for them. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, there's a lot of people that are going to be Steambox. They're going to make things exclusively for the Steambox. I really think with the Steambox, it's going to be quite cheap to produce for at the moment, because it's mainly PC games and they're not that hard to make. Like, obviously there's a lot of work that still goes into them, but it's probably a lot simpler than making something for, say, the Xbox or the PlayStation. You know, because you've got to make a whole new thing with a whole new system and things like that. But like with the PC is this system that, whether or not we have new Windows set systems, that sort of thing, we're always going to have the same launchable, that they're going to have new disk readers that you can install yourself and that sort of thing. So there's always a thing of modability. So it's going to be a lot easier to develop full-blown games and then add things to it at the end. If that makes sense. Yeah. I'm interested to see it. I mean, will any of you guys be interested in investing in one in the future, or?
Possibly. I think the thing is, for me at the moment, I'm perfectly fine with Steam as is on my PC.
Yeah.
And I'd rather, like, you know, for the longest time there's been PC and console, that's how it is. Now there's mobile's kind of like a third option now, but
yeah,
I wouldn't say, as someone who games quite a lot, that I'd consider it as an option. So it's basically sort of, you've got console and then you've got PC, but now you've got Steambox, which is kind of in between. But at the moment, I know they haven't announced everything and I haven't sat down and played one, but it just seems like a go-between for people who don't have one or the other. But right now I have a PC, so I wouldn't personally be massively interested.
I see it more as competition for consoles. Yeah. That's what I see it as. And competition is always good.
But I say there's a lot of people that have turned around and said that this is not going to work. Steam are going to get outdone by Xbox and PlayStation. But you know what, right? In my head, I'm sitting there thinking, if Steam do with the console what they're doing with their system at the moment, like with all their library and stuff like that, they could well overtake them and go far, far away. They're always decently priced. They're always having sales, always having this. PlayStation and Xbox are going to have to step up quite heavily.
Yeah. Also, they're still going to consoles will still keep their high price point for release games.
Exactly.
Whereas PC, They will obviously have the Steam sales as such, because it'll be running on Steam, and also PC games almost always about £10 to £15, maybe even more, cheaper at launch.
Exactly.
So a lot more people will be like, oh sweet, cheaper games, but a controller.
You know that the Humble Bundles are also, some of them are Linux-based things, and we use that quite a lot. A lot of the games that we have on our system that are from the Humble Bundle are Linux ready, so you can use them anyway.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, the price point of that also then drops like 50, 60% at a time. You know, if you want to play any other game, if you have it in the Humble Bundle, you've still got it on any other console. So it feels like, it still feels like the price point and everything is really going to push the Xbox. They're going to have to start doing more sales, and the PlayStation Plus is going to have to step up. That sort of thing. There's going to be a lot of things that they're going to need to sort out before they can.
In theory, they're going to just undercut the console.
Yeah.
Surely.
They're cutting out the middleman, really.
Yeah, pretty much. And the consoles, I don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to reduce their prices to compete with Steam, if that's what they're going to do. But if Steam does branch out and opens up their system to the rest of the games that they have, the console is really going to struggle if that's the case.
Yeah.
Right now, as it is, I mean, Linux has, what did you mention? You said 300 games?
Yeah, 307 or something.
That's not much competition, but if they're able to open that up to the rest of Steam, then there's a real potential to undercut the console itself.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that most, if not all, Steam games will run on it, because Linux is what they're basing the OS on, but it's also basically just Steam as the OS. So I'm assuming they will make a lot more than just the initial 300 games that are already Linux compatible, sort of up and running as quickly as they can, if not at launch.
Definitely the newer games, but I don't know if they'll be willing to update the older games.
I think they would, because in regards to their controller they announced, which we'll go on to after we finish talking about the OS, they've said they're going to basically modify pretty much as much of their library as they can. Like really old games that never had controller support, they're going to basically trick it into thinking, oh, I'm playing with the keyboard and mouse, but you'll be able to assign buttons, which is really cool.
You need to remember as well that it's not Linux, it's a Linux-based system. They're making their own system around Linux.
Yeah,
they'll make it easily so that they can modify, if they do need to modify any games, they can modify them onto there, or they can even base the system in a way that they won't need to modify half the games already. They'll already be based all around the SteamOS.
Any game that isn't already licensed on the Steam thing they would need to license it to be able to make it ready for the SteamOS and the Steam thing. The thing I want to know is, do you reckon they're going to hire like an in-house team to adapt for Linux? So if they have like indie games and these people can't afford to do it, do you reckon they'll be like, okay then, if you want, we'll do it for you at a smaller price?
That's hard to say. I can't imagine them doing it for the smaller games if it's not making them any money.
Yeah,
maybe they would invest in the bigger games.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm not talking like DLC quests, like the 99p games. I'm talking the sort of like, you get the indie games like Fez and that sort of thing. Everybody loves Fez. Everybody loves Limbo, that sort of thing. Do you reckon if they didn't have a Linux version, I'm sure they already have one for those both, but do you reckon if they didn't have a Linux version of it, they'd be like, all right then, if you guys can't fully afford to do it, how about if we did it for a smaller price? We'll do it in-house for you. We'll publish it ourselves.
Yeah, I can see Valve doing something like that. They could do it for free, but I assume they'd probably just charge a little fee or something. Like similar to how I think there might be a fee to go on Greenlight initially, I can't remember.
Yeah, I think small one,
because they know that it's going to net them more money.
Yeah.
It will net the developers more money. If they don't make a ton off it, they're still swimming in money because it's Valve. So it's almost good that they have such a monopoly on PC gaming right now, because they can afford to take risks, they can afford to support other games, and it's the kind of thing where they're not exactly... Valve never seem like they're going mental and getting really greedy with anything. They've got so much money, and yet they do quite a lot of decent things for gaming and PC gaming. So I reckon they will probably be quite supportive even to smaller development teams.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
As I was going to say, I quite like the idea that because Valve has so much money, they're willing to take these risks. Because you see a lot of people these days, they're like, I don't want to do this because it might lose us money. Whereas Valve are like, yeah, just throw some money, throw a check at them and see what happens,
Yeah.
And it's such a, don't get me wrong, it's such a bastard way of doing it. It's like, yeah, just throw money at things and make them happen. But at the end of the day, if they are the only people doing this now. So everybody's starting to be like, oh, they're taking all these risks, you know, all these new things are coming out of they're not sure. Like with Greenlight have had games that you don't really see very often. The games like Don't Starve, I picked that up, a friend sent that to me, and that was a really good game. You know, that was quite addictive in a way and that sort of thing. And I quite enjoyed that. And I like the fact that Steam is just like, okay then, if you join our Greenlight and you put this forward, if enough people say they'd play it, we'll give you the money for it.
Yeah. I don't even see
cool.
it as a risk, to be honest.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like a risk. You know, it's such a big market, the indie market, and everyone's nowadays they're not so into like the bigger companies. I mean, if you get an indie game and it's a good game, everyone's going to be up for it. It doesn't have to be, you know, the GTA and all that nonsense. I mean, I'm more than willing to pay £1 for a decent game, even if it's an indie game, you know?
Yeah. It's, you'll hear quite often that the three of us, not very big fans of Call of Duty, and we continue to bring it up in conversations as sort of like the AAA game that we don't want other people to follow because it's always similar to what's the rest of the last ones.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when you get these indie games that are trying something new, that's so far different to like, you know, they're trying something that's never been tried before. And things like that, like, you know, it just seems like if it's something new, I'm willing to give it a try. I'm willing to spend a little bit extra to give it a try.
Absolutely. And Steam gives them that platform, and I think this new OS is just another platform for that market.
Exactly. And
so I think it's not a risk. I think it's a good move for them.
And especially with Xbox, for want of a better word, bastardizing their online, indie game thing. They very much they said they weren't going to do indie games. They said they were going to do indie games, and now they're not doing indie games until some point next year. So it's like they're really cutting off indie developers. They're really sort of chastising them.
I want to see how they'll respond now that Valve are announcing all of this. Maybe they're just going to say, actually, you know what, they don't really have much of a choice. If they don't offer the indie game market anything, then they're not going to be in the indie game market.
Exactly. It seems that like. Well, Microsoft did say that after they announced the OS, they said they were watching it very closely because, first of all, I mean, a lot of the things they originally announced were sort of the sort of thing that Steam already does. Quite a few of the things, and you know that. But at the same time, it's also they need to look what they're doing and then base their plan on what they're doing and what the PlayStation 4 is doing and what the Wii U is going to do, like what they're going to add in the future and that sort of thing. And I really think that Xbox, as much as, you know, I'm a big fan of the Xbox, they are sort of, between the Xbox and the PlayStation 4, they're trying to go up and up and up in the price point, up and up in quality, and they're really sort of digging their own grave a little bit. They're going to run themselves into the ground, I think, in the end. And it's quite sad because, I mean, there are a lot of games that I used to play when I was younger on the PlayStation, and a lot of games I still play on the Xbox, that sort of thing, and I'd like to see them carry on. But if they're going to continue to, like, just completely, like, push these things to their limit, and, you know, they're going to, like, with the new GTA, it's so powerful that some Xboxes are crashing, and that sort of thing. So it's just like, you think, when do you go too far? They're going to run themselves into the ground. They've already started running the Xbox 360 into the ground with the power. But then they're gonna carry on doing that, and then they're gonna push up the price point for something that might have the same problems as the last one, and then so, you know, with the Steam box, if it comes in at an affordable price and it's a decent, you know, Steam aren't known for their bad quality stuff, so it's all going to be very interesting to see.
I think just the way it's shaking things up a bit by providing something between PC and consoles, but with such a well-recognised thing of Steam, it's going to be really interesting to see how the consoles react, as you were saying. And, you know, we may see a point where this thing, maybe it's not the most popular thing, but some publishers and stuff might either sign exclusive deals with them or break off from exclusive deals with, like, say, a single console. So we might see Infamous coming to PS4 and Steambox, or, you know, how Bungie, until recently, obviously, had an exclusive thing with Microsoft. Companies might seek to kind of break away from consoles and develop multi-platform, which could also extend to PC, which could really help, you know, the amount of crappy ports that PC gets sometimes when a console game's kind of popular and they just kind of throw it at PC without thinking about refining it and stuff like that.
I mean, a lot of games these days do come out on a console and then PC. I mean, they're not so much recently because I think they're getting to the point now where they're trying not to. but there are a lot of games that came out like go exclusively for like. I mean, you remember the Gears of War 1 and 2, exclusively for the Xbox and also on PC.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's just a PC, it's the Xbox version. You're more likely to play it with an Xbox control, but at the same time, it's a PC version. So it's like they did open up that availability every now and then, and with Portal when they did cross-platform with the PlayStation version and that sort of thing. So it's not like this doesn't happen already. This is now just the point where there's now an easier platform for them to release it to. And
I don't think Valve, being the company that they are, going to have a problem acquiring these bigger games and solely for their OS, because it's across the PC, Steam, as well as their console now. So it's not like the developers are losing a big chunk of the market.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the only publisher that doesn't go on Steam is EA at the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
The only downside I see to the Steam machine, like their console, is the fact that they were talking about it being completely upgradable, etc. And I think that one of the big reasons that maybe not all, but the majority of console gamers get consoles is because they know that they can get their console and every game that is ever released on that console they'll be able to run. Whereas if they have to start, and they never have to worry about upgrades, they never have to worry about a game not running, whatever. Now, obviously, when the Steam machines come out with their current specs, every game will be able to be run on it. But in the future, they will have to start upgrading to run games, and the question will come about where, like, what do I need to be able to run this game now? Am I still going to be able to run this game if I don't upgrade? Or like, my friend has just bought the more expensive Steam machine that's released in like the years to come, and they can run this game, but can I still run this game? And that's going to sort of like put a hinder on them.
Yeah, that kind of complex bit of the PC side of gaming, managing all that kind of thing, that is why, people buy an Xbox, it's solid for 7 or 8 years. Xbox recently said you won't see the successor for the Xbox One for about 10 years at least.
Yeah.
So, it's a bit of hardware. You buy it whenever you feel like in the cycle, and it's good for, supposedly good for another sort of 10 years or so. It's kind of like a long-term investment.
Or anything. It's just as it is.
But do you think that, like, with the Steam machine, though, they're going to have bespoke, like, things that they're going to build that maybe can run more on less, if you know what I'm saying? Like, they can run games, maybe what looks like a better resolution.
Like upgradable hardware, you mean?
Yeah, but upgradable hardware is what they're looking at now, I believe. But from it's just like a case of because it's going to be a bespoke box, they're going to have bespoke parts and that sort of thing, and they're going to have
that's worrying.
They're going to have like premium versions of it and that sort of thing. And it's just do you reckon they're going to do that, or do you reckon they're going to use like stock what's there already?
I reckon they are, because they said that they're aiming at the core PC user who wants the most, to quote, the most control possible over their hardware, and again to quote, completely upgradable and open. So why would they say that if they wasn't going to do it? Like, I understand where they're coming from to aim it at the core PC user, because right now, even when they go into console, the PC genre, the PC area is still where they're going to get most of their money from at the beginning, at least.
Yeah.
They're just competing into the console market. But if you said, actually, no, we're not going to give you any upgrades, then PC gamers would be like, well, actually, I think I'll just stick with my PC then, and not even bother going to this.
I'm not saying, like, are they going to do upgrades? I'm saying, are they going to have bespoke upgrades? Are they going to have Steam, Valve upgrades? Are they going to build the upgrades themselves, or are they going to outsource?
I assume they are going to build them themselves. Like, they'll release, better RAM or a better processor that you can upgrade it with if you want and stuff like that. I wouldn't think they'd outsource it.
But would that be overly expensive though? Do you reckon that would be maybe not in the long run, but would that be? So you might pay say £250 for the console with a controller or two, but then you've got to buy it. And every 5 or 6 years, there's going to be a new upgrade for it, like a new upgrade for the graphics or something like that. It's going to cost you £120. Would you rather do that?
No, I think they're going to keep it affordable. I don't see Valve going that far as to extend the hardware to that extent. It's like just buying a whole new console in that case, sorry. And I don't see them doing that. And it's hard to say as well because it's still really early on, and they've not said to what extent that they'll be upgrading the system, and it could simply just be just more memory for the users with the 100+ games.
Yeah.
Whereas it may not just affect somebody who just plays a game and deletes it and then puts another game on, So it's hard to say, until they get specific with it, I think.
Yeah, honestly, they've become so big with their community. They are like the Valve are closer to their community than Microsoft or Sony, in my opinion.
By a long shot.
In my opinion at least. So, in my eyes, why if they did something like, even if they did build it themselves and they had absolutely no competition when it came to it, I don't think they would make it overly expensive for the pure fact that they would lose all of the loyalty they've built over the last, how long has Steam been going now?
10, 11 years.
At least 10 years. They would lose all of it because then all of a sudden they'd be like, the community would be like, well, actually, that's a bit of a dick move. Excuse me.
Yeah. Steam and Valve are like universally known for their great games, their great Steam software, their great pricing, their great attention to community. Like that within their community, compared to say Xbox and PlayStation, they probably have an equally, if not better, sort of value to the people that use their service. Because let's face it, now there's Origin and other things and crappy Uplay. PC always has a lot of different options for how you want to run games, and the fact that millions of people choose Steam shows how much they like it. And they're just universally, outside of their respective communities, if you say, which gaming company or whatever has a really good reputation, people will take the mickey out of people hating on Activision, EA, whatever, but not really anyone has a bad word to say about Valve, because they seem to do everything not just with their own interests. They kind of look out for the consumer. Yeah,
they do seem grounded. They don't seem like too big of themselves. Like EA, I don't know. I just get that feeling that they think they're they're big company. They can pay, they can charge whatever they want for their games, and their games can suck as much as they do. But it just seems like like I said, they're a grounded company, and they try to give their customers affordable prices. And I think they'll be able to see themselves that they'll be screwing their own customers over if they were to come out with this expensive hardware, and I think they're grounded enough to know that that's not what they want to do.
Yeah. So do you reckon that because this is meant to be like a midpoint between the console and the PC, that even would you say that they're going to be budget upgrades as well?
I can definitely see that as an option. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not a company like EA.
No.
Who EA are very. Everything they think about, at least over the last few years, has been short term. Yeah, how can we make the most money in the shortest time possible? If you want proof of that, look at all the Call of Duty games that they've released.
Activision.
Sorry, that's Activision. look at all the FIFA games that they've released and then not supported. Look at all
Dead Space. Dead Space 3.
Dead Space 3 was microtransactions, but in fairness, all the English sports like FIFA 14. Every time they bring out a new game, they just stop supporting the last one.
Exactly that.
But the thing is with games like, because they know they're going to make millions off of that. I mean, I know people who went to go buy it a day early for £65. That's ridiculous, how ridiculous it is. And I'm guessing EA see a vast majority of that money. They say you can sell it earlier as long as you give us the money for it, basically. So, at the end of the day, they're going to make a lot of money. But with games like NHL and that sort of thing that don't sell so well, they support those games for 3 or 4 years. Yes, they release a new one every year. But the one I bought 2 years ago is still being supported now. So it still feels like, but I understand where you're coming from, because I mean, like Battlefield, they have been supporting that one for a long time, but then all suddenly they've just sort of gone, by the way, cut-off point, there's microtransactions now in the new one. So they've built a new game. The game's going to be good, but at the same time, it's going to be like, all these things that if you want to go further, if you want to look better, you've got to buy all these things.
Whereas a company like Valve, I can see them. Like Valve made Portal 1, if I'm right.
Yes.
And the community market is still there. Valve still completely support Portal 1, even though Portal 2's been out for a few years now.
Yeah.
And I can see them supporting it for a long ass time. And I can see them keeping the community support for it open for forever. They haven't got a reason to close it.
As long as there's a Steam, there'll be support for all of the Valve games, I reckon.
Exactly,
Because they're openly, even if they're not supporting it first party, they will keep the portal open for them to
for the community,
to the community, like the workshop mods.
Yeah, you can clearly see this partnership through Steam as well.
Exactly, and it's just this has become the Let's Sing Steam Praises podcast, but it just feels like, they are basically a gaming platform done right, and so to sit there and be like, oh, we're going to do this, this, and this, everybody's sort of like, but when you think about it, they've listened to what the people want, and they've gone, actually, we might be able to do something with this, They've actually, and as soon as I said it, they said that, oh yeah, the console's not going to come out until maybe mid to late 2014, but we're going to start beta testing it before Christmas. So they're already getting ready to test it to get community feedback for then people to go, oh, this was good, but this could use a bit of work.
Yeah, they're sending out free...
hundreds.
Free consoles, basically.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not going to probably get to keep it forever, and it's, a test version. There's going to be problems, but as far as I know, Microsoft and Sony don't send out a few hundred free consoles and stuff. I assume they do sort of a lot of in-house testing and a bit of consumer stuff.
Yeah.
They send out a few, not many.
But not even public betas. They're doing very private betas. I mean, at time of recording, there are... 1 second, F5... reload. There are 188,999 eligible beta candidates for the Steam hardware. So, I mean,
a lot of people.
One of them is me. I'm putting my name in there because if I got it, it would be good to sort of be able to then bring forth, after Christmas time, be like, oh, by the way, I've had a chance to test it out, and this is what I've found. This is quite good. And it'll be easy sort of use. That's sort of point.
Yeah.
But it's just it's one of those things where and it's not even like they ask much of you to be part of be a candidate. You have to join a group, have 10 friends on your thing. You have to create a public Steam community profile, which 9 out of 10 people already have, and launch and play a game using a gamepad and Steam Big Picture mode.
Yep.
Four things.
That's pretty easy.
Exactly.
And if you don't want to do any of that, then I can understand why they wouldn't want you to test your product. Because if you haven't done all of that already, or you aren't willing to, then their product isn't going to be as beneficial to you as someone who would.
Exactly. I mean, I have all the consoles from this generation that's now, not the Wii U, but I have the Wii, the Xbox, and the PlayStation 3. And, I hold console gaming quite high regard because there's a lot of things on it that this generation, I think, may have been pretty much the epitome of console gaming. I don't know if it can really go much higher than this because when you've got all the connectivity, the community, all that sort of thing. But, so I'd like to see Steam sort of bring that sense of community, their sense of community, and bring it to their own platform. I'm very much looking forward to them having their own platform and them having, because I'm going to say I hold console gaming this generation in quite high regard, so I'd like to see them maybe bring that magic further.
Yeah, but to answer the original question you was asking, because of all of this being so long term, because of everything that Valve do being so long term, I can't see why they'd release some consoles and then in a few years' time, when they have to be upgraded, charge say £200 because nobody else can compete with them for some RAM or something, because that goes against everything that they've ever stood for. It's completely short term.
Yeah.
What I'd imagine they'll do is possibly start with a few different versions of varying power.
Yeah.
And then over time those will drop in price, but obviously they'll release new ones. And, because I assume they'll optimize it slightly, so it would be more like console where the game will run on everything, but it will look a bit better on this version of the Steam console or things like that. And also, because they're now doing their own thing, they can sort of combine the upgradability of PC and the whole console lifespan. Rather than having a 10-year cycle on this one Steam box, in say 5 years they can go, right, major overhaul, trade in your old one, or if you've got one, get a slight discount on getting the new one, and they can have their own cycles that don't last 10 years, which will keep things a bit fresh without seeming like, oh, I just got this, now there's a new version.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't see no reason why they can't do a bundle where they sell you the bare bones of what you need, like the RAM and everything. In 5 years' time, be like, oh, here's a bundle. It's all the inner parts that you need to upgrade your PC, your Steam box. but without the actual Steam box. So you can just open up the one you've got already and put the new bits in there. So it's cheaper that way.
They would do that. If any company would do that, it would be Valve.
Because at the end of the day, if someone was to offer you either you have to buy this new console, it costs you £300, or you can buy the innards to the new console, put it in your current console, and it work exactly the same, and it's only £160.
So potentially, what you're saying is, whereas PlayStation could eventually come out with PlayStation 5, for instance, we still be running the original Steam box, just upgraded.
Yeah, it's the same box. It's just you bought the innards for it at a lesser price.
I could see that working. I could.
It could work. It's just like back to what I said before about console gamers not ever having to worry about upgrades. I can see that possibly being a deterrent, and I'm really interested to see how Valve will handle that, because I know they wouldn't say something like that without having a response to people who say, well, we like knowing that we can just play our games for 10 years and never having to worry about upgrading.
Yeah, but it would be like having a next generation console, though. It would be exactly like that, because at the end of the day, right? Because when they bring out the new Xbox, when they got the Xbox 1.5 or whatever the next generation will be, then Steam will go, you know what? Here's our new console. It's £350, but it fits in the same size as the original Steam console. So instead of doing that, just buy the new innards and do it yourself. So it's like getting a new generation console, but spending less for it. All you have to do is put it together. And at the end of the day, DIY consoling sounds fantastic to me.
Yeah. It does to me as well. But it won't sound fantastic to everybody.
Well, the thing is
what I was saying. But if they did that, let's say right now we're just presuming, say every 3 years. It's possible that it won't, but let's say every 3 years they release the bare bones package, right? Like you said, Xbox One said you won't see the extent of how powerful the Xbox One is for 10 years. So let's just say 12 years the next Xbox One comes out. That means there'd be 4 bare bones packages of Steam. It's just presuming that all of this was right. And then people are going to say, well, I can keep my Xbox One or my PS4 for 10 to 12 years, without having to worry. Why am I going to have to upgrade my Steam box 4 times in that time?
Yeah, the justification could counter with the fact that I know a while ago when they started talking about making their own console, they were saying upgrading, they will make it so simple that, you just slide something out, put the new part in and put it back. So I don't think it will deter people too much from putting it together. And the other thing as well is the games will be cheaper. If you're saving a tenner every game and you buy a lot of games, that could, that potential money you save could, especially not including sales, just on launch price. If you save a tenner and you buy, say, 10 games at launch over a few months or something, that's £100. And then if an upgrade is, a couple of £100, all the money you save on that, you could kind of justify that saying, well, I'm saving money on the games. I can kind of afford the upgrade.
There's a good chance that the upgrades are far between one another. I don't see them bringing out a new upgrade every 6 months. It could be years in between one another. Like Wayne said, you said 3 years. Who knows? It could be even extended period of time. Consoles, even if it's a Steam console, potentially they can last for a long time before they even need any sort of upgrading. So potentially you could be even looking at 5 to 6 years before you even require any sort of upgrades.
Yeah. My basis was on the presumption before that we were speaking about, but you are completely right.
Yeah.
And Tom, you're right too. In the sense that games are cheaper. That was the thought that I was thinking of when Valve would counter that. It's what I counter console gamers with when they come at me and say, "Well, you have to upgrade your PC." I'm like, "Yeah, well, I have over 100 games on my Steam, and they're any that I bought on release were definitely at least £10 cheaper than what you paid for yours.
Yeah.
So I can afford my upgrades."
That's not necessarily true, because I paid £30 to Saints Row 4 on Xbox, and it was £40 when it came out on Steam.
I'm on about any game that I've bought. I haven't bought Saints Row 4, and any game that I've bought new, I've normally bought it cheaper on Steam, because back before I was pure PC gaming, I would look to see which was cheaper, the console version or the PC version. And any game that I bought outright was cheaper on the PC.
Yeah, majority it's cheaper on Steam the majority of the time.
Yeah.
If not, you have Green Man Gaming, Good Old Games, Get Games, all these good providers now that can sometimes be cheaper than Steam, but they're still PC based.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when they released their console version, it's definitely going to compete with Sony. Well, I say definitely. It's very, very likely going to be competing with Sony and Microsoft unless it completely fails. So to respond to that competition, I can only imagine that Microsoft and Sony would start making their games a bit cheaper too, because they wouldn't have much of a choice.
That would be great, because
all of a sudden they lose their, while it's amazing that the competition is never a bad thing for the consumer. There's never been a time that I can think of. But if Sony and Microsoft start matching the prices of Valve, all of a sudden it's going to start becoming more expensive to own a Steam machine again, because you'd have to upgrade. If you did have to upgrade, that is. No one's actually said you would have to upgrade yet.
Yeah.
It's just upgradable. So there's always the counter argument against them as well. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm just posing the counter argument to the Steam machine.
Yeah.
It's a lot of debate. I mean, everything we said pretty much now is just pure speculation on what could happen.
Yeah.
It's just discussing. It's basically what we're doing is basically guessing what Steam and Valve, the Steambox and Valve are going to do, based on what they've done in the past. So at the end of the day, we just have to sit tight. I mean, we'll find out in a few months' time. We'll get more information around Christmas time, probably.
Yeah, we won't get anything solid until well after they've done their testing, because, as we were saying, they want to know from the community first and foremost. So once they've got that testing in, they will change something. Then I think they will start revealing. I mean, obviously, people will probably do some videos and some walkthroughs of what's going on with it if they receive a testing copy or a testing kit or whatever. Much like they do with the Oculus Rift. If somebody receives one, they will do a video about it, because not many people get them. But I think, they won't release anything too solid officially until after hearing what people think and what changes they need to make.
Yeah.
I honestly think we will hear multiple things, and some things that completely contradict things that have been previously said, purely because they will say something. Then the community will say, actually, we don't like that too much. And then they'll say, okay, fine. If you like it this way better, that's how you'll have it.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what they do.
They'll probably update and try new things all the time. They'll be like, oh, you Steambox testers, you'll now get this. What do you think of this? And everybody will be like, nah, it's alright, but we don't like it very much. And I'll be like, okay, then alright, we'll take it out and we'll work with that. We'll see what we can do. They're not just going to sit back and be like, this is what you've got. With Xbox and PlayStation, they've obviously done in-house testing and they've gone, this is what everybody wants. Steam are going to go, we think this is what people want. You guys test this. They're not going to...
And again, if it is an upgradable system, an upgradable console, they can give you the options as well, whereas, like you said, the standard console, you don't have the option, you get what you're given. If it's an upgradable console, you could potentially get the option of one way or the other, depending on what it is you like.
Yeah, as I say, it's all come back to the app side here. People can develop apps, they can develop new things for it. So,
and it's brilliant as well.
As usual, Valve will end up giving a bunch of people from the community that happen to make something good jobs, which is what happened with Half-Life, Portal, Left 4 Dead, Counter-Strike. Valve have a great history of, you made that thing pretty cool. Why don't you come and work for us and take your whole dev team with you, because we love what you make. So they're sort of made by the community for the community.
Yeah,
go ahead. Yes, sir.
I was say it all seems like, I think Valve are going to do the Steam box based on what the community wants. They're going to try different things. They're not really going to. If people don't like it, then they're going to say, all right, if you don't like this bit, then you can take it out. No problem. Don't worry about it. We'll take it out, or someone else can take it out. No problem. There's no issue there. It's when other places decide to go, we think you want this, we think you need this, so we're going to put it in. You have no choice about it.
Yeah, I can see them doing that. For example, the consoles now, they're doing an online-only version, right? The newer generation console. Yeah. I can see them giving you the option, with these upgradable systems to potentially have an online or the other option to not have to go that way and, have the offline modes.
I think with Steam, it's the Steam has an offline mode. I mean, I don't see them going too far away with that. I think they're also going to keep the offline mode. It would just be like the Xbox 360 is now. If you're online, you'll get many more features.
Yeah, exactly. And you can
So-
choose to do either. I can see them absolutely doing that,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm very, obviously, it's very looking forward to, if by some crazy chance I might get chosen to test it, then I'll be more than willing to talk about any questions that people might have, And then, obviously, within reason, there's going to be things that they don't want us to talk about. But, I'm more than willing to, if someone goes to me, what's this? I think the biggest question I'm going to get is probably something to do with the controller. I mean,
the controller.
The controller is an interesting looking valve. It
is, and if anything, Valve are known for their innovation, and this could be an interesting mix. And I'm more willing to sort of answer questions about that because from the people who have already had hands-on time with it, Valve did closed days where people come into the thing and be like, oh, by the way, we want you to test this, and hand them a controller, and it's this contraption that I can only suggest is either the best thing ever or the worst thing ever.
Yeah, it looks a bit like a DS or a Vita had sex with an Xbox controller.
Yeah.
And then dyed its hair and everything black, and that is the Xbox controller. And also they threw in some speakers.
They did sort of try and base it around other controllers and comfort and stuff. They just went in a different direction to what other people have, in a sense.
They were saying that there are only 4 buttons on the control that you need to remove your thumbs from the trackpads.
Yep.
Which is interesting. I think that's quite a good idea.
And I like that it's trackpads and not like the analog stick, which will tends to wear down over time.
Yeah. Yeah. And they said that they're also going to make the trackpads. They're also looking into making them like speakers.
Yeah, they might make them clickable as well. So it doubles as a trackpad and the sort of X, Y, A, B buttons, or X, triangle, circle, square, Yeah. And also, I'm assuming there'll be, people panicked a bit because they heard the word trackpad. They thought laptop trackpad. I hate using those for gaming.
Yeah.
Whereas it's essentially going to be a more accurate analog stick because if you think about it, a lot of people that do mobile gaming, they're essentially using part of their screen as a trackpad, as a virtual analog stick. So why can it not work on an actual controller? It would be very precise, assuming they tune it up properly and everything.
Yeah.
And it would be kind of like using a mouse, but without the keyboard. The keyboard is on the rest of the controller.
Honestly, when they said upgradable or customizable or open about the Steam machine, I think they meant the entire thing. So as much as you might not be able to upgrade your control, I think they'll have different versions of the control available to buy. So if you don't want if you want your trackpads clickable, there'll be a version where it's clickable. That's going a bit out there, but I think that if like enough people, if that's what this community wanted, that's what they would do.
That's what they'll get. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, there's a lot of different theories on it. They've obviously got the screen on the front of it, and they're also playing with the idea of making the screen clickable.
Yeah.
So you're going to have the touch screen, and it's going to be clickable, and they're also saying that the touch screen is going to be moddable, so you can have whatever you want on the touch screen. I'd like to see like an Xbox Smart Glass sort of thing with that, where you control the mouse with the touch screen. So even when you're like going to choose a game, you have the thing as a mouse trackpad.
Yeah, there's so much that they can do with this, and they know that there is, and they're going to test everything out before.
It looks like the craziest piece of shit in the world. Aesthetically, right now, it doesn't look like the prettiest thing in the world. But at the end of the day, they've built it for practicality, and they'll build if they want aesthetics, they'll build that near the end.
Yeah, and it looks like a face.
Yeah, it does.
Sorry,
I see that now. I can see that.
Yeah. A lot of people have been photoshopping onto the front of Darth Vader.
That's great.
Yeah, I think that's one of the funniest things. Now, literally within 24 hours of them announcing it, Kotaku had an entire a thing about photoshops with the Steam pad, and it was one of the funniest fucking things in the world. But I mean, aesthetically, I don't think it's going to look that different from the point that we see it now, because it looks like
looks unique.
It looks like it's going to do what it's meant to do. Yeah. Even if I don't get the Steam console, part of me thinks I'm going to go out and buy the controller, just because, first of all, it's like, I want to try it out, and second of all, it's like, it's something you've never seen before, and it's the first of something that looks quite innovative. I've always been quite interested by innovation, and I've always wanted to have innovation in my hands, and that looks like it could be the start of something new.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
If implemented well, it looks like it could be the start of something new.
So guys, we almost forgot. They made 3 announcements. This year ends in a 3. Half-Life 3 confirmed.
I know,
Next
right?
announcement, Half-Life 3.
You know what? I'm going to put this out there right now. My prediction: launch game for the Steam box, right? Left 4 Dead 3, Half-Life 3, Garry's Mod 2.
Portal 3.
Liverpool now.
Liverpool now.
For Liverpool.
Yeah. I was thinking about Half-Life 3 as well, but just simply because the community have wanted it ever since Half-Life 2 was out.
Well, it's because they announced it was in production since before episode 2 was released. So it's like a case of, yeah, it's being made, but we're just not going to fucking give it to you.
But like, I think it'd be too obvious. I think Half-Life 3 is too obvious an announcement. Maybe it'll be part of their announcement, and it'll just be a list of games. But even then, I think it's going to be something different, something that nobody's been speculating.
But didn't Half-Life 2 come with the Source engine? Didn't it? Didn't Half-Life 2 come? Yeah. It came out with the Source engine.
Yeah. So I thought originally, for a long time, I thought when the sort of Source 2 or whatever equivalent comes out, the next full Source engine rather than a modded version, when that comes out, that's probably when they'll release the 3s. But now they're doing this, I'm wondering, if we will see a direct Source engine 2, or whether they're gonna kind of focus on this a lot more, because
I reckon this is going to be the launch platform for Source 2.
It could be, yeah.
I reckon they're going to release this with Source 2 as like with Source
on
2
Steam
game.
OS.
On Steam OS. I reckon this is going to be the quintessential Valve thing. It's going to be when they go to release it. If half of the population of PC gamers is not salivating at the idea of what they're coming out with, they're not doing something right. It's simple. That's exactly what I think is going to happen.
It's a little disgusting, but it's true.
I'm definitely going to be installing SteamOS as well. I love the fact that they're not limiting it just to their Steam machine.
Yeah,
that it's going to be available for dual boots and everything. It's going to be completely free.
It's what I like is the fact that they announced the 3 things separately means that they're all linked together, but they're all also separate entities.
Yeah. And so far they have been.
Exactly, and that sounds fantastic. Like SteamOS, that's going to go into the Steam machine, but SteamOS is also separate to the Steam machine. And with the controller, it's going to be with the Steam machine, but it's separate. You can buy it for your PC if you want. It's a wired USB controller. They're going to release wireless ones in the future. When they get round to it, they're going to announce them, but for now it's a wired controller. So it plugs into a PC like it would any other console. And I just like the way that, as much as the connotations are that the 3 of them are being released together, they're separate entities.
Yeah, Steam is giving a lot of choice
exactly
to consumers where there usually would be none.
That's
what they're good
perfect. That's perfect to me.
I am interested to see if they will still let gaming on the Steam machine be done through keyboard and mouse, because I know that a lot of gamers, including myself, prefer using a keyboard and mouse purely for the fact that I have so many buttons.
I don't see why they wouldn't.
They wouldn't. I don't think they'd stop it entirely, but as they're aiming at the console market, which is more used to controllers, I think they will sort of give preference to everything.
Yeah.
Like all the launch games are going to be essentially PC games anyway.
Yeah.
Because they're taking them from their Steam library, so they will all support keyboard and mouse, and they're saying the controller is going to trick things, and the OS will trick things. Really old games with no controller support into thinking it's a keyboard and mouse. So I'd assume that you can go, there's an actual keyboard and mouse, and the game will go, yeah, that's fine. That's what was meant to happen.
I think, to be honest, is what's going to happen. Instead of tricking the game it's saying it's going to trick the game, but what it's actually going to do is the controller's going to have like a memory chip in it in some way, and that when old games are booted up, it will load up the control point for that game onto the control, and it will map it to the control in a way. So then, you might be able to get it to come up on your screen with how the mapping's been done.
Yeah, I'd imagine there's going to be different, customizable bindings because of their PC roots. Because on PC, in 99.9% of games, you can customize every control. You can set, your fire button as left arrow if you fucking want. It's stupid, but you could do it.
You could do whatever you want.
Some games on console have a few control schemes, like for if you're left-handed or whatever crap like that, and they don't have quite as much option with that. So I think Steam can do a lot more just with simply it's kind of like console, but you can change the controls and you can do a couple of different things.
Actually, that reminds me of what you said. Something like we said, left-handers. They've made the control entirely symmetrical.
Exactly what I was just going to say.
So you can map it so it's literally just the mirror opposite. So then if you're left-handed, it will play to your strengths still.
Yeah.
Which I like.
They've put so much thought and work into this.
Yeah,
I'm actually really happy with everything. I don't know if I'd get the Steam the Steam console myself, purely for the fact that I don't see how it benefit me personally.
The controller I'm definitely getting either way.
Yeah.
But yeah, the controller I'm definitely getting, and I'm so happy with what they've announced, because if nothing else, with all those haters out there that are hating on this entire idea because they're console gamers or because they just don't understand or don't want to understand, for them, it still benefits them in the sense that now Sony and Microsoft have no choice but to compete with Valve.
Yeah, they have to step up, otherwise they're not going to do it. They can't.
Even those haters that are hating on Valve right now are still benefiting from Valve's announcements.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be. That's the thing, is that I've noticed it with the PlayStation and Xbox announcements. A lot of people just want to hate for the sake of hating, and they're going to do the same with the Steam console. PlayStation and Xbox things are going to be like, these consoles are going to stay at the top of their game. Nobody's going to beat these people. But at the end of the day, you have to look at it in the way that, first of all, to stay at the top of their game, these consoles are going to have to step up big time. Second of all, Steam already have an established fan base that are going to carry over to the thing. Yes, fair enough, PC sales and PC game sales are down on games console sales, but at the same time, if these guys were to go into a console, there'd be a lot more people perking up their ears about it, So
exactly.
There's a lot of things that we can sit there and you can hate as much as you want. You have to look at it, and to be honest, I have a feeling that Microsoft and Sony are probably looking at this and they're scared of what might come to them, because at the end of the day, Steam is an established PC platform. They know what PC gamers want. They know what, they also release games onto a console. They've released versions that people love. People still love. They've got Portal on the Xbox and everybody loves it. That sort of thing. So it's just a case of, they've got their foot in both areas, but now they're trying to balance themselves in the middle of it as opposed to being more on the PC side of things.
Yeah, they're definitely shitting themselves, because they know that another reason that a lot of people don't even give PC gaming a look in is because, back in the day, you'd have to spend maybe £1,000 on a PC for it to be worthwhile as far as gaming went. But when they release, let's say, a £250 Steam console, all of a sudden it's affordable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I don't think they're going to be competing with the console as much as everyone thinks as well. I just see them as a hybrid to like you mentioned before, a hybrid to a PC and a console, as opposed to just the console. And go ahead.
I don't think they're naturally going to be. I don't think they're purposely, going to be competing, but it's going to be natural competition.
Yeah, the natural competition will be good. They don't need to compete at the end of the day. The amount they rake in from their in-house games, their Steam client, and then the amount they will inevitably make because people are going to buy this.
Yeah.
They don't need to worry about competing. They can just, it goes back to the having so much money thing. They're obviously taking care with this. They're not just throwing money at it, but they're free to do what they want, and they're going to use that freedom to, be as innovative and, give as much back to the community as they can, because that's just what they do, basically.
And
they have such they have such an established, almost perfect track record with everything they do that, that sure there will be hate, like there was a lot of anger when PS4 and Xbox One were announced, but at the same time, there's probably not going to be as much of a backlash. And the other two companies, or three companies if we include Nintendo, which I tend not to, are going to be just like, oh crap. They're going to be sitting there waiting on the edge of their seat like the rest of us for very different reasons. But I think they're going to be pretty scared, even though Valve don't intend it that way.
I mean, we are looking at all the positives. We're looking at the idea that Valve and that are going to go. We could look at the complete opposite and say that, look at Sony's foray into portable gaming. Fair enough, the consoles have been good, but they haven't sold very well at all. But both of them didn't do very well. And the fact that, the Nintendo are still outselling them, considering, for want of a better term, Nintendo's entire console line is pretty much riding on the DS at the moment,
Yeah.
So, we're looking at Steam going from PC to console, there's like this godlike thing, this could happen. But at the end of the day, people may just look at it and be like, eh.
Yeah, it comes back to is there really a demand for this? It's great it's happening, but there's that against the fact of, well, maybe some people will get it, but maybe it'll just be fanboys buying it because it's not necessary, and, people feel that there's console and there's PC and they're going to stick to one or the other.
Exactly.
It really depends on whether they get into the new market or not. Like, if they get into the console market, then this can only be some form of improvement. I think it's because I have so much faith in Valve. Maybe I'm biased. I don't think I'm biased, but maybe I am. And I have more faith in them than I have in like Microsoft right now, because Microsoft have made a lot of choices that I disagree with everything that they're doing. And I don't really like Sony are just sort of like this all about company that do basically everything. Like you can buy I'm pretty sure you could probably buy a Sony Hoover somewhere. So like, but Valve, all they do is gaming. All they know is gaming, and I can only see it going somewhat well in some way. I've spoken about the negatives that I can see happening.
Yeah.
Even if they don't branch out to the other console consumers, and even if they only get the original fans from the PC, it's still going to be a success. They don't have to branch out and try to grab hold of those console fans. They're such a huge user base as it is. If they can just rely on those guys, that's going to be more than enough for them, I think.
Yeah. And I know that game developers are going to love the idea of a Steam OS. Well, because they have said that they love the idea of a Steam OS. They love the idea that they're only going to have to worry about a certain operating system that isn't forever changing how it goes. Because it's going to it's like making a game for 10 resolutions is harder than making a game for 1 resolution.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same idea behind it.
Well,
so what does that mean?
It's easier as well for those indie makers. How easy is it now for the indie makers to break into console? What the PC is one thing, but with this new console, they'll be able to break into the console as indie makers, as indie, and I think that could really work well. I think Valve are definitely going to corner the indie market alone with this console. And we're going to see like a lot of gems just popping up from the indie market.
Yeah. I quite enjoy that. Like the idea that this has sparked quite a good debate. I'm quite enjoying this. But we're getting quite close to the end of time, and I want to sort of end with the idea of: do you think that because they're releasing the Steam OS and the Steam box and everything, that they're going to take games like Half-Life 3 away from Xbox and PlayStation? Are they going to take Left 4 Dead away from the Xbox?
Nah.
Do you reckon it's going to continue to come out on the other consoles? Or because
I think they will. They could do like early release, like how some games have the 30-day release window for a certain console. I think they'd probably do that, or they'd have more features, because like TF2 and such on Xbox didn't get much support. It just got the basic game. So I think what they'll do, they don't seem like they'd be dicks and not give everybody a fair shot at playing their game, because they want more exposure, more money. They want more people having fun with their stuff. But at the same time, I think they will definitely favour their own sort of domains in some way, like the PC and box.
They will now have their own platform exclusivity, I think, which is fantastic. It would be one of those things.
I can see them not taking away games that are already out.
No, they won't.
Like Half-Life and Portal. Like the series. Like, let's say they made a Half-Life 3, a Portal 3, whatever. I can't see them saying, actually, no, these games aren't going to be available on your consoles because we now have our own operating system. I can see them doing early release on their own operating system, say a month or so, maybe even a couple of months. But what I can see them possibly doing, if they do decide they want some exclusivity with their gaming, is maybe future games that they might make a couple of games that are Steam OS exclusive.
Yeah, they could launch a new IP equivalent to Half-Life or Left 4 Dead, developed in-house, and then, it won't, if it's available at all for anything else, it won't be available for another couple of years when everybody that has a Steam box or PC has played the entire, trilogy or whatever they decide to release.
Well, it's like the Orange Box, so they just got, after a little while, they just released 5 games on one disc.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on how long it takes them to actually start actually trying to compete. because exclusivity would only benefit them if they were competing.
Yeah.
I have no problem with exclusivity, because considering it's Steam, chances are it's just going to be on PC anyway, so you're going to have the option to have it either on the console or on the PC. So to me, it's not a big deal, because I rely on my PC anyway, so I'm not using it.
For Steam users, for people that are already using Steam, it isn't a big deal.
Yeah.
For people that aren't, it would possibly gain more custom.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. And
I can totally see them pushing, like, I don't know, Left 4 Dead 3 or something crazy like that on Steam OS.
yeah, that'd be
I would love that, by the way.
Well, I mean, you got to look at the way they do Left 4 Dead 2 on the PC. It's different to one on the Xbox because they have all of the campaigns from the last one on there as well, and all the updates are free.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's exactly what they would do on Steam OS as well. Like, because it's their own platform.
yeah,
Offer you the free updates as well as possibly like all the mods that, if you go onto Steam now, you'll get thousands of mods for like hundreds of different games.
Yeah.
And you could potentially have that same thing on the console, which is great.
yeah.
You can make the same game so diverse from another console, which is, Left 4 Dead 3 will play completely different on this OS, Steam OS, as opposed to on a PlayStation,
Yeah,
just because you have the mods.
Yeah, to stick with Left 4 Dead for a second as well, they won't, because they're releasing, say, DLC for games on their own platform, there's going to be reduced cost on that as well. I mean, Left 4 Dead, you had to pay on Xbox for all the DLC. PC, completely free. New campaigns, all the old campaigns from the original game, that kind of thing, was all completely free because they're doing it on their own platform for their own in-house developed games. So the Steam OS could potentially have, they don't have to pay to release their stuff through Microsoft. So there'd be a lot more free or cheaper DLC and stuff like that.
Definitely that potential, definitely. And that sounds amazing.
Yeah, I want to finish by saying I'm definitely excited about all of this. If nothing else, I am mega excited about what Valve are doing here.
Well, I guess on that note, we'll be wrapping up then, won't we?
I guess so, yeah.
Anything you want to close on, guys, apart from Wayne, who's already closed? Wayne can no longer speak, by the way. Fuck you, Wayne.
Left 4 Dead 3 winning.
Left 4 Dead 3 winning.
Yeah. That's just, to me, this whole Valve announcement thing it's going to shake things up a bit, and it's almost, at least on par with the announcement of the new consoles and all the details. I think there will be an equal amount of people waiting with bated breath to see what happens next, and I'm looking forward to it all, definitely.
Some will say
I'm not worried, and I don't think they are either.
So I'd say this Christmas people will be waiting with bated breath.
And screw you, I'm rebelling.
No! Wait!
Oh, damn, Wayne.
Cutting you out.
Why would you do that?
God damn it. Alright, guys, well, on that note, I think we should give it an end.
Thanks for sticking with us through this.
Thanks for sticking through our anonymous ramblings. We hope to see you next time. And again,
can I say thank you?
I say welcome to Mass. And go ahead.
I can say thank you now, right?
Yeah, it's okay to say thank you now.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, cool. We've got 20 seconds to edit before we get started.
And if you subscribe, Mass will send you some free pasta.
Yep. Definitely will.
Pasta incoming.
Yes. And just quickly to let you guys know, sorry the thing didn't go up on YouTube last week. It will be going up with this one on YouTube. Thank you very much and good night.
Good
night.
Good day.